welcome. My name is Irina. I'm the Director of Admissions at Hunter College. I'm excited to run this session with you, and I'm excited that you decided to join us today. One of the first things that I think is important to understand is that this session today is specifically for international students. And given where we are, where we're located in the heart of New York City, I think the definition of an international student could vary for some. So before we get started, I want to make sure you kind of get an idea of what this is for. This is for students who are going to be applying for an F-1 international student visa, meaning you're currently abroad, you may be in the US already, but you need a student visa in order to pursue your higher education in the US. That's what we're going to focus on today. If you are somebody who was educated outside of the US, but already have your green card or your citizenship or some sort of legal status in the US, and don't require the F-1 student visa, this session is likely not for you. We do offer virtual info sessions outside of this, so if you need to, please, by all means, sign up for one of those. But again, today's session is probably not going to cover the information you're looking for. So given that I put that disclaimer up front, I just want to make sure that we get started. So today's session is going to cover a little bit of different things. We're going to talk a little bit about Hunter, who we are as an institution, and then how to apply and what the tuition is and all the nitty-gritty parts of college admissions process. So in general, to understand who we are, Hunter is a public school located in the heart of New York City. We are located on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So our main campus is on 68th Street, and then we have a few sort of satellite campuses, if you will, that are kind of spread out around the entire east side of Manhattan. What I will tell you is that if you are coming in as a freshman, even to the majority of the transfer classes, if you're coming in as a transfer, most of your main classes will be on that main campus at 68th Street. If you are a student who's thinking about studying social work or public health or perhaps nutrition, some of your classes in your junior and senior year may be at the Silberman campus, which is located on 119th Street, all the way on top that you see right here. If you're a student who may be interested in studying things like nursing, doctoral physical therapy programs, sort of anything that's health sciences related, your classes may potentially be on the campus that's located on 25th Street as well. So big picture, right? The main campus is definitely where all the classes will be. The main campus is located 3 blocks away from Central Park. It's 5 huge buildings that are all interconnected by sky bridges. There's a subway stop, like there's a lot of really cool stuff in its main campus. So there's a lot of things for you to do on that main campus. But do remember that New York City is kind of our center, if you will. So you might have classes that will be spread out once you get higher into your courses. And again, if they're a little more focused. Now, understanding that we're a public school located in the heart of New York City, it's also important to know that being a public school, we're about 17,000 undergraduate students, which may seem like a lot to all of you, but we're actually about medium size, I would say, medium to large. There's about 6,000 graduate students. Students come from all over the world. So if you're worried that you may be the only international student on campus, that is certainly not going to be true. It's certainly not something you need to worry about. We have students from all over. We have students who come from different backgrounds, different education histories, literally anything and everything goes. And that's kind of the true essence of Hunter. We are a very diverse public institution. So you will be joining a diverse student body as well. Now, understanding, again, that we're a public school and what we offer, I think, is very important, especially for international students. We're a school for 17,000 students to do something, right? And there's 70 different majors available at Hunter. Everything from languages, so you can study Chinese, Japanese, Russian, German, ancient Greek, and everything sort of in that side of things. And you can even go all the way up to studying social sciences, so things sociology, psychology, political science, international relations, economics, and then go all the way into the hardcore sciences as well. We have a ton of students who do biology, chemistry with ideas of going into medical schools, PhD programs, and so forth. So the gamut of academic programs is really something that's going to be available to you at your fingertips. And I think it's important to understand how the US system works, right? Like how the structure of the US institution works. So in most colleges, which is what you will see in the US, your degree will consist of a few different sort of subject areas, if you will. There will be at Hunter, you will have a major focus. So think something you really want to study, and that's your major, whether it's biology or political science or economics, whatever that may be. In addition to those major classes, you will be completing something called the CUNY Core. And the CUNY Core is really a series of classes for you to explore the liberal arts curriculum. Um, I talk to a lot of international students. A lot of international students are always confused saying, well, if I want to study biology, why do I have to take a history of art or a history of dance? And the idea here is that when you graduate from Hunter, having those core classes and having that sort of separate chance to explore something that you may have liked at some point that's not your major, and really give yourself a chance to be sort of well-rounded student academically, will make you more marketable when you start applying to graduate schools or professional programs afterwards. So think of your degree as prepping you on sort of a lot of different corners. One of those corners will be this general education that is meant to give you exposure to a lot of different topics. Again, if it's accounting class, introductions to economics, perhaps introduction to dance theory, music theory, whatever that may be, you will have a chance to kind of explore a different range of classes, and that's done intentionally. Something that's unique to Hunter, I would say, is this component of the Hunter focus that you see. And the Hunter focus is usually a separate, different foreign language to our students. We want our students, again, to be marketable by the time they graduate from Hunter. And to do that, a lot of times, especially in today's economy, you need to be able to speak a different language. If you're already a student who perhaps being educated in a different language back home, or who speaks a different language, you can always make that Hunter focus study be a different language, something completely you've never tried before. Or you can make that Hunter focus study a study of a specific subject that is not your major or minor. So a lot of our students for the focus pick up a certificate program. So think of it as an addition to your current degree. Let's say you're interested in studying biology, but you also pick up a certificate in human rights or public policy because you might want to go in and work for the World Health Organization, Doctors Without Borders, any one of those, right? You can also pick up a certificate in legal studies. You can pick up a certificate in business studies. So depending on where your sort of interests are, that focus could be a set of classes that are specific to your interests. Something to note is that we have 5 different certificate programs. One of them is, like I mentioned, human rights, public policy. There's one for students who are interested in sort of a pre-business side of things, who are maybe interested in going into business afterwards. There's one for students interested in arts management specifically. So if you're somebody with a creative side and you want to learn how the arts management side works, that could be a really good fit for you. And the 5th one is a brand new certificate, and that's a spatial data science certificate. You've probably heard a lot of data words nowadays out there, data visualization and things like that. So that certificate will teach you how to work with data to make it accessible to the general public. It's something that's up and coming. It's something that's going to be the buzzwords in the next few years. So it's definitely something that's useful. And again, remember that these are all add-ons to your degree. They don't have to line up with your degree, but they can absolutely add on to it, and you still graduate in your 4 years. Talking a little bit about academics is obviously important, but I think that there's a whole other component to the sort of the student life component at Hunter that's very important for international students to know about. First and foremost, we are a large school with a lot of different diverse students. So the student life side is just as diverse as our students, meaning we have students who participate over 100 different clubs. They play on 18 Division III teams. There's really something for sort of anybody and everybody. If you're thinking, how do I find friends at Hunter? Going to one of these 100 plus clubs is probably your best choice. We have cultural organizations, so think students like Ecuador Student Club, we have Ukrainian Student Club, there is a Muslim Student Association, there's a Hillel on campus, right? There's a whole bunch of sort of cultural organizations. Then there's a whole set of clubs that is a little more academic in nature. So accounting society, pre-dental society. So think a little bit more of the students who may want to focus their out of class experiences to support their professional growth afterwards. And then there's a third slew of clubs that kind of have absolutely nothing to do with anything else. And they're a little more student hobby-based clubs. Think K-pop, where, K-pop groups, students who love to dance K-pop, listen to K-pop. Think students who may be interested in a knitting thing. We have a knitting club, right? So whole different ways for you to really connect with the community on a little more personalized level. And I always get students asking, like, do I have to do this? And the answer is no. Nobody's going to force you to join a club. But if you're looking to find friends within the specific set of your like interest and specific group of students who are interested in the same things, going to a club meeting is your best bet. You want to make sure that you go to a place where all these humans are going to be collecting. What I will say is that you want to make sure that you kind of put in as much as Hunter is going to put out for you, right? So in all these different activities, if you decide to join the student radio station, if you want to do service learning opportunities, Hunter will be sending out all these opportunities, and it's really on the student to partake in them because the options are truly, truly endless for you. So you want to make sure that you really dive in and explore all these different things that are happening. Now, as an international student, the big part of your life is going to be this living in New York City, living on campus, sort of being part of the residential community too. So Hunter offers 2 residence halls. The 2 residence halls are very different in nature. Our 79th Street building is apartment style living. So think one apartment, small apartment, you're in Manhattan, where you share sort of a communal kitchenette and you share a communal lounge area, and then there are rooms specific to you and your roommates. 51st Street, which is our brand new building, that's a little more traditional. So you'll have a room that you share with another roommate. There's usually a bathroom in the room. If you're interested in housing, my advice is always make sure you check out the housing website. You want to make sure you look at the pricing. You want to make sure you look at the accommodations, what they offer, what they look like. And I will say, being part of the residential community, you are about a 10, 12-minute walk away from the main campus. So if you decide to take an 8 a.m. class and then you want to sleep in the afternoon, go back and do homework, or if you want to change before your internship or come back to an event, you have that flexibility. So you're becoming part not of just Hunter and not just of the residential community, but of New York City itself. So it gives you a really good sort of way to get your feet wet in New York and being a New Yorker for the first time. And I will say that you are never going to be doing any of this alone, right? So whether you want to join something or whether you're struggling academically, there's always a level of support available to you. For our academic side, we have academic advising. So freshmen start off their academic sort of advising journey in the freshman orientation. For transfer students, you would get an academic advisor. Academic advisors are assigned after the first semester for freshmen. There are 4 student libraries on campus. There are learning support centers, personal and counseling centers. So sort of different parts of your life can help you get to that next point. Coming and leaving a home behind that's, miles, thousands of miles away is hard. Back in the day, I was an international student, and coming in, remember crying probably for the first like 3 months of being in US. And that's just because it takes time to kind of get adjusted to the pace. New York is definitely faster. So there's definitely different levels of support available to our students. And again, it is entirely up to our students to make sure that they use all different resources. All of these resources are going to be free for you. So all of them will be available to you once you become a Hawk at Hunter. Now, I know that a very important question for international students usually comes on this whole visa. How do I do this? Where do I do this? And that's why I want to make sure to touch upon a little bit about the international students or students office and services. In general, you should know that in order to apply for a student visa, you have to be admitted to the college first. So that should be your first step. You want to make sure you apply for admission as early as possible. You want to make sure you send the documents as early as possible, so that way you can start the visa process after. Visa process is not easy. The timeline could be different for everyone. There's a lot of paperwork involved, as you know, with the visa applications. But I will say the International Students Office at Hunter will kind of guide you through everything that needs to happen. A lot of the sort of upkeep of your visa is going to be handled by the International Students Office too. It's a small team. It's a small team that knows all of the international students individually, which makes it really nice for international students. If you have questions, how do you work on campus? Can you work on campus? How do you get a social security to do that? What if you need to go home between the breaks? Are you allowed to travel? Not. There's going to be an orientation for students. For international students, there's going to be an onboarding type of event where you'll get to meet each other. So all of this exists after you've been admitted to the college. So you definitely want to make sure to focus on the admissions piece first before you kind of start worrying about the visa. I know I said that the timelines for visas are different, and that really depends on your visa appointment availability in your country of origin. So the consulate for your country of origin usually sets up appointment times, and again, International Students Office will be sending you a lot of information to make sure you get all of this in advance. As soon as you're admitted, about 24 hours after, you will receive information from us on how to sort of proceed to the next steps. Just don't forget, you got to be admitted first before you can start on the visa steps. I hope that I'm covering a lot of information, and I know the chat is not open, but I do want to make sure that you understand that there's a Q&A section. There's a Q&A button somewhere on the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions about anything that I'm covering, please make sure to put the question in there, and I will get back to them at the end of the session. So now that we talked a little bit about sort of what services we offer, let's talk a little bit about the actual application process, how that works, what we offer, and so forth. So first thing to understand is, what type of applicant are you? We've already decided that students who are attending this session, this is for students who are really truly interested in applying to an F-1 student visa, which means that you need to apply for a visa, right? You're not currently in the US and on any visa status or citizenship status, whatever that may be. There are two different types of applications you can submit to Hunter. There's a freshman application and a transfer application. Freshman is anybody who's only currently in high school or about to graduate high school, or just graduated high school and never went to college. So think freshman, first-time college student. If you've ever, again, attended college, if you took any college courses after graduating high school, you're no longer a freshman. So if you're just in your last semester of your year, of your senior year in your high school back home, you are a freshman applicant. You're required to submit a freshman application, all the required documents that come with it. If you graduated high school and you went on and started a degree back home, or took a few classes, or maybe already completed a bachelor's back home, you are considered a transfer applicant. So that is the main difference. You want to make sure that you understand that before you start that application. Now, there are a ton of different scholarship opportunities available for students, depending on which type of application you're filing. Biggest thing to know is that for freshmen, we offer 6 scholar programs. The scholar programs are merit-based scholarships. So it's not just for being international students, it's for students who are performing exceptionally well in their academic career in high school. The cool thing with the scholar programs at Hunter is that they are actually interest-based. So if you're coming to Hunter thinking you want to study film, for example, the Muse Scholar program will be a very good fit, because that means that it's for students who are actually interested in visual and performing arts. Your freshman seminars, your out-of-class experiences will be focused on that art component, because you have an interest in film, which is a visual art. You'll see the 6 different programs that are on the screen kind of have different interests. Again, the biggest thing to know is that you have to apply for admission first before you can apply to these programs. So again, just like your visa process, you submit that freshman application first, and then you'll be invited to apply to the scholar programs that you'll see on the screen. If you're a transfer scholar, so if you're coming in with some sort of college education behind you, there are additional scholarship opportunities available as well. They're different, they have different requirements. They're not theme-based per se, they're based more about what type of education you received previously. So take a look at the screen, make sure you know what they are, and again, usually admissions team will reach out to you all after you submit that application saying, hey, it's time to apply for your scholarship, it's time to apply for a visa, whatever that may be. Something to consider with Hunter is that regardless of what type of applicant you are, and regardless whether you get that scholarship opportunity at the start of your journey or not everybody's going to be selected who's applied, right? Hunter offers a ton of scholarship opportunities for continuing students. So let's say you're coming in as a freshman and you were not selected for one of the honor scholar programs for whatever reason. You still have opportunities to apply for scholarships once you become a student at Hunter. Most of the scholarship opportunities for continuing students at Hunter involve having a GPA at Hunter. So essentially, most of the time you will wait until you complete that first semester or first year, get your GPA, show that you're doing excellent work, and then start applying for the scholarships that are open to current students. Ton of different opportunities. A lot of the departments offer something that's individual to the department. There are a ton of different fellowships, and again, depending on your interest, you will start getting all this information once you have a GPA at Hunter and once you've completed at least a semester. So don't be disappointed if you apply for something in the beginning and may not get that from the very start. Again, the scholar programs and the transfer scholarships are very competitive. You can always apply for additional opportunities later. Now let's talk a little bit about deadlines and how to apply. First and foremost, you should know that the scholarship deadlines for international students, application deadlines for international students are usually earlier that are general domestic students, and that's intentional. So the reason they are earlier is because usually international student documents take a little longer to be reviewed because they're international. So it gives us a little bit more time to have this deadline. What I will say is that the deadline is not a final deadline. So if you are looking at this now and you're like, holy moly, I already missed this for spring, but I still want to apply, we do operate on rolling basis, and I'll explain what that means after. Let's talk a little bit about what we're actually looking for in students, right? So admissions profile that you see on the screen, this is a general middle 50% of our admitted class. What that means is last year's class, so students who started this fall semester, we look at everybody who's enrolled. We take sort of the entire class, and then we look at where does the middle 50% fall. The reason we offer you 50% is because we will never tell you you have to have a certain minimum GPA to be admitted into Hunter. We review a lot more than just that GPA or that general score. We look at your entire application holistically. So we look at your essays, we look at your courses that you're taking. For example, if you're part of an IB program back home, if you're taking any AP classes, if those are available, right? So if your curriculum is rigorous, your GPA may be a little lower because the classes are a little harder. So we look at everything. We look at the essay that you submit, what that essay says about you. We look at the letters of recommendation. We really look at sort of everything and anything that will be submitted with the application, which is why there's not a minimum GPA requirement. What you see is, again, a middle 50%. So out of the entire class that started with us this fall semester, this is where the middle 50% falls into. This can give you a very general basic guideline. So that way you know that if you're in this middle 50%, you have a very good chance of being admitted as long as the rest of your application kind of speaks to your character and everything else. But again, remember that it's not just the number. We look at everything else with the application holistically. How do you apply for admission to Hunter? We are a CUNY school. We're City University of New York institution. So you submit a CUNY application. Remember how we talked about freshmen, transfer, there's a CUNY application for freshmen, there's a CUNY application for transfers. Our website gives you a clear outline of where to find that application, what's needed for it, and so forth. If you're submitting that CUNY application, you can actually list multiple CUNY schools on one app. So for example, if you're looking at us and any other CUNY institution, for freshmen, you can list up to 6 CUNY schools. For transfers, you can list up to 4 CUNY schools. And you can really, truly kind of have a plan A and plan B, right? If you're seeing the numbers and you're saying Hunter seems to be very competitive, it's okay to put a few other schools that may be a little less competitive in nature, so that way you have a backup plan in case you don't get admission to Hunter. Big thing to know is that the scholarship application, the scholar programs or the transfer scholarships that we talked about, that's a supplemental application and happens after you submit your CUNY application. So a couple of days after, you'll receive an invite to apply for the scholarship. So don't forget that. Now, this concept of rolling admission and deadlines and all that stuff, the reason I want to bring your attention to this is because rolling admission means that we will continue to review students and continue to review applicants as long as there's space in our classes. International applications do take a little longer to review because the international documents require a little bit more work on our end, right? So we ask you to try and apply before the deadline. If you apply before the deadline and your documents are received before the deadline, we can guarantee you that you get your decision in time to make sure you get all your visa situated, all your interviews done for the visa, I-20 released, and all that stuff. If you're applying after the deadline, again, the review timeline doesn't change. We still need the additional time to review, which means that your decision timeline gets pushed back a little bit, which may not give you enough time to apply for a visa, apply for an I-20, and do all the things that you need to do as an international student. So can you apply after the deadline? The answer is absolutely yes. Will there be enough time to get everything done? Unfortunately, we can't guarantee you that there will be. I can tell you that we will absolutely try to review all the documents and everything that's sent as fast as possible. But you want to make sure that you kind of have the timeline in your brain to know when you're applying early. Earlier is definitely better. Now, how do you actually send the official transcript? So just submitting the application is not enough, right? Having an application on file, but having it incomplete doesn't help us because we can't review it. So in order for us to review the application, we need to make sure that all official transcripts from your previous schools have been received. So if you're applying as a freshman, we need to see a high school transcript that shows your grades for the last 4 years, right? 9th, 10th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, IB grades, whatever that may be, whatever your high school record looks like, we need to make sure it's official records. For official records to be official, they need to come from your previous school directly. So what happens is you submit your CUNY application, you'll get a confirmation email that'll tell you, hey, it's time to submit your records. Please contact your school. Here's where they should send your records to. Anything that comes from the student is automatically unofficial, so we can't review that. So it definitely you want to make sure that submit that application and then request the official transcripts, which means your school needs to send them to the address provided for you in the confirmation. Now, something that I'd say, helps in the big scheme of things, we work with a company that's called Evaluation Company. It's Spantren, it used to be called. It's a foreign credentials evaluation company. What they do is essentially expedite your document translation, evaluation, and all that good stuff. So if you are applying as an international student, the link to the Spantren program or to the evaluation company sort of application, how to do that, is available right on our website. Please make sure you take a look at that. Please make sure you look at what that means, right? There is a separate fee. It's not part of your application process, but it does help expedite the review. So again, if you're applying after the deadline, having that evaluation company sort of work through your transcripts is definitely much, much easier and definitely much, much faster process. Now, last but not least, it's helpful to understand that there are some programs at Hunter that do not admit directly into the program. So think if you're applying to things like nursing, or maybe you're interested in social work and maybe medical lab sciences, those programs require prerequisites. So again, you apply to Hunter, you become a student at Hunter, you complete those prerequisites, and then you apply to those programs afterwards. It's just something to remember when you're applying as an international student, so that way you understand that there's some programs that may kind of start you a little bit later in the actual program. But again, you're not wasting time, right? You're during the time when you're completing prerequisites, you're still completing your core classes, your Hunter focus classes, and everything else. So your degree will still be that 4-year span. I covered a lot of information. Again, the Q&A button is open. So if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. If you looked at our admission criteria and you decided, hey, this seems a little too competitive for me, I do want to make sure you know that we offer something called the Hunter Promise Program. And the Hunter Promise Program is essentially for students who may not be competitive enough for admission to Hunter from the start. It's for freshman students usually who do not get admitted to Hunter from the get-go. And essentially, it's 3 easy steps. If you apply to Hunter and you don't get in, we give you this Hunter Promise Program admission into one of our partner colleges. You attend a partner college for 2 years, you graduate with your associates. The second step of it is, as long as you have your associate's degree, it's an AA or an AS degree, and as long as you completed with a minimal GPA of 2.5, we will guarantee you admission into School of Arts and Sciences at Hunter as a transfer later. So it saves you a lot of the headache. So again, if you're looking at our admissions profile and you're like, this is a little steep, I'm a little worried about what that entails, right? I may not get in or whatever that may be. There's always an opportunity for you to come back to us 2 years after you complete your associate degree. So keep thinking this and keep this in the back of your head. Now, important thing to know for a lot of international students is what will it cost for you to actually attend Hunter? And for true international students who are interested in applying to an F-1 student visa, regardless of how long you live in New York, regardless of how long you plan to stay later, right? If you're an F-1 student visa, your tuition is going to be about $19,000 for the year. This is just your tuition and student fees to attend Hunter College. I know it seems like it's a lot of money, but by comparison to some other private schools and by comparison to a lot of the even public institutions around the country, this is still a very affordable route for a lot of our international students, which is why we have a lot of them coming our way. You're paying for a world-class education. You're paying for being in New York City, right? So it's a phenomenal opportunity to pay a lower tuition rate by comparison to any other institution and still be in the heart of it all. Don't forget that if you're interested in housing, if you're interested in living on campus, it would be an additional cost to this. So you want to make sure that you, again, keep this in the back of your head when you start looking at the finances. Now, Hunter's value goes far beyond just the tuition amount and the cost of attending. Our students are doing a lot of really amazing and phenomenal things. So if you become a student at Hunter, you get exposed to a lot of really cool opportunities. Office of Prestigious Scholarships and Fellowships will help you apply for internship opportunities, summer research, and things like that after you sort of become a student here, as long as you're doing well in your classes at Hunter. 99% of our pre-health students, so essentially students who are interested in applying to medical, dental, optometry, PT programs, whatever that may be, get into the medical school of their choice, which is an incredible statistic. National average is somewhere in like a 46% range. So our program is really strong. If you're interested in studying education, 89% of our students are employed within the first year of graduation. If you're interested in economics, right? So if you're interested in going to finance and doing something like that, a lot of our students pick up a pre-business certificate right around sort of that major. And students who graduate with that usually end up with a starting median salary of about $85,000 a year. Again, this is all current data. This is something that our students are already doing. And if you do not know, all the students that you see on the right, all the student highlights, these are all really prestigious programs to be a part of. So they're current students at Hunter who have done something phenomenal. They did well academically. They had really clear goals about what they wanted to do, and now doing a lot of really cool things like research at Harvard, traveling to do graduate programs, right? So like a lot of really cool opportunities. Again, once you become a student at Hunter, that will open up a little wider net of things for you. It's not just about being a student, it's about way more than that. And once you're a student at Hunter, you'll be able to get access to all this different information. That's pretty much the end of my session. I covered a lot of information, I know, but I want to make sure to open up a little bit more space for questions. So first, before we get to the questions, definitely take a look at our website. The different QR codes that you will see on the screen now. The Apply Now QR code, that will take you directly to the application. It's going to tell you how to apply, where to send the documents. That SpendTran link we talked about, the evaluation company services, all of that information is going to be covered for you right there. Chat QR code, that is for you to talk to these amazing humans that you see on the screen. If you're interested in talking to current students, we have international students, local students. If you want to find students who may be interested in the same major and you're trying to figure out if Hunter is the right fit for you, or if you have questions about living on campus, definitely make sure you reach out, scan that QR code. Students are happy to answer your questions. Do remember that students are here to answer questions about student life. So if your questions are pertaining to admissions process, and if you don't understand something on the website, reach out to our team. You see the link right on the bottom right. But students are here to talk to you about their student experience. Best pizza slice, best coffee around campus, favorite classes, whatever that may be, right, about their actual experience. Now, if you're interested in learning about our majors, because I said there's 70-ish majors, there's a ton of them, right? Um, different certificate programs and all that stuff. If you scan the view QR code, it's going to allow you to create your own personalized view book. Essentially, what a view book does, it gives you a synopsis of everything you want to know. So if you want to select how to be an economics major, but be on the pre-health program, but also be a dance minor with an arts management certificate, you can select all those different programs and then say, I also want to learn about undergraduate student government and maybe how to live on campus at 51st Street, right? You select all those things, and then the system is going to send you a customized view book that's specific to your interest. So instead of reading on the website that information that's sort of about everything and anything, this will be a very customizable, sort of specific to your interest approach. All right, so now I've covered a lot of information. I'm going to jump into some questions. If you have any questions, again, this is a good time to put them into the Q&A. I see that there are a few students still asking. One of the questions is, so you're saying to apply for a visa, I have to be admitted first. Correct. Don't forget that in order to apply for a student visa, you want to make sure that you submit your CUNY application, all required documents, and get reviewed for admission before, because you can't apply for a visa unless you've received an acceptance letter from a college. All right. Another question. You said something about combining certificate programs with majors. How does that work? So if you're not familiar, right, in US, you actually get to combine things and make a degree that's somewhat customizable to what you want to do, or specifically at Hunter. I'll never admit to this probably if I see you at Hunter again. I have a degree in physics with a minor in math, dance, and education. So this is a long time ago now. Certificate programs didn't exist then. But the idea is that you can combine things that you like and something that you want to do in the future. So your degree in Hunter will really consist of sort of, again, your major, something that you want to focus on that you know is going to set you up for what you want to do later. But also will allow you to explore some things that you like. I took a ton of education classes, which is why I ended up in education. Took dance classes for fun, took math classes because they were there and I was doing physics already, right? So it kind of one of those things that as you get to Hunter and as you get to explore all the different majors and certificates and minors, again, if you want to scan the QR code, the view QR code, it's going to allow you to start exploring now. But you'll have the flexibility to kind of adjust and learn along the way. So if you take an introduction to women and gender studies class and all of a sudden you fell in love with the subject, you could pick it up as a minor, you could pick it up as a major and have a different minor. Hunter really will allow you that flexibility for the first like 2.5 years of your education. Once you get into your junior year, most of the classes will be a little more focused. So by junior year, you'll likely know what you want to do, so that way you can start taking higher level classes. Great question, though. Again, there's a Q&A button on the bottom. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to jump to those. But it looks like I actually answered all of them. Awesome. If you have any questions, I hope you all reach out. My contact information is right on the website that you see on the screen. I really, truly hope to see your applications at Hunter for this upcoming year or upcoming semester, whatever semester you may be applying to. And being an international student in the heart of New York City is one of those experiences that you can never sort of outlive, right? You're always going to say, I tried, I did it, and I conquered it. Being in New York could be a little scary at times, but again, remember that the network at Hunter will be there for you. So trust yourself, trust your instincts, and definitely think about the value of putting into higher education in New York City. The value goes far beyond that low tuition cost that goes into availability of internships, availability of, you know, being able to explore New York and go to events in New York, go to Broadway shows, sort of do all that stuff that's not necessarily part of your education. That will be an experience like no other. So take it from somebody who's done it. You might cry just a little bit when you first get here because it is culture shock a little, but at the same time, we'll be here to help you along the way. So once again, thank you so much all for joining me today. I hope that you got all the information you were looking for, and I really hope to see you at Hunter in the future. You have a good one, everyone. Bye.